to Cartoon Ape Podcast Show. I am Chad McCanna.
I'm Hyle Russell.
Thank you for this extremely patriotic show of national pride, Hyle. I'm digging it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm organizing a resistance to free DK Vine. Wolverines has been taken, so I'm thinking the honey bears?
Sure, that'll work, yeah. I was wondering, for a second there, I thought you were talking about the X-Man, and I was wondering if the guy who captured and put adamantium on Wolverine's skeleton was Russian, but...
No, but I do have Whoopi Goldberg on speed dial just so we can get Patrick Swayze's ghost into the mix, because he has experience in these matters.
Absolutely, he does, yeah. Avenge me! Why did Patrick Swayze's dad think it was a good idea to scream at his sons who were trying to sneak up on a Russian prison camp?
You know, it's been several years since I've seen Red Dawn, but apparently I need to bone up because it would be good for me to have that knowledge because,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you just want to get into it. What happened to DK Vine this week?
Yeah, we're never going to have another opportunity to yes and over Red Dawn, so let's.
It's going to be a long 4 years, Chad. Never say never.
Yeah. So, sort of tangentially related to goings on in the news, there's obviously been a lot of tension surrounding Russia and their influence over the American presidential election. And while correlation is not always causation, the timing is curious because Hyle, well, you posted an article, a little spot of satire on DK Vine.
Okay, so here's what I thought. This was my thought process in the couple weeks leading up to this chain of events. I had been noticing that all of these newspapers, from the most prestigious in the nation to the lowest of the low, were all offering political endorsements, and many of them were offering political endorsements for the very first time. A lot of publications, said we have never, like the USA Today, for example, never endorsed a political candidate.
Wait! USA Today has never endorsed a candidate?
No, and
that seems like something that's obligatory every 4 years at this point. That's shocking, honestly.
But they didn't endorse a candidate. They just said Donald Trump. They non-endorsed Donald Trump by saying he should not be president.
Oh.
But there's a lot of this in like local papers, and for whatever your political views are, I thought, how pretentious is it of these newspapers to think their opinions matter? And as we saw, their opinions don't matter at all. But I was just like,
but Hyle, that's where these wars are going to be fought now, on the local level, where you can really affect change.
I actually do subscribe to that, but not as far as the local newspaper, which is filled with coupons for the local shop and save or whatever the fuck. But so I thought, wouldn't it be funny if DK Vine pulled this stunt? Because it's one thing if a local journalism outlet does it, but a Donkey Kong and Rare centric website,
right? And by the way, I want to point out before we get too far into this anecdote that this is the only thing regarding the election that we're going to discuss unless one of our callers forces it. But we are just out to enjoy ourselves this evening. So if you're just dreading a podcast filled with those milquetoast liberals, Chad and Hyle, forcing their opinions down your throat, don't worry, that's not what this show's going to be.
No, we want to have fun tonight. We want to blow off some steam and just forget about the outside world. But unfortunately, the outside world impeded on DK Vine this week, so we have to address this. So I thought it would be funny if DK Vine, for the first time in 17 years, endorsed a political candidate and rooted all of their justifications in nonsense.
Which, by the way, was not the case because we did endorse John Kerry in 2004.
Well, I addressed that at the beginning of the article and how unclear that was. Did we actually endorse him?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Yusuf on the forum, along with new forumer Smokey the Dragon's #1 fan, both pointed it out.
Oh man, Smokey the Dragon's #1 fan, holding my feet to the fire.
Yeah.
It was a joke article. I don't care if it actually wasn't accurate. The whole point was satire. And if you actually read the article, it was mostly satire. The justifications to vote for the candidate we picked was rooted in some real world things, but for the most part was rooted in nonsense like she broke the embargo on It's Mr. Pants and got it to the citizens of New York.
Right.
She brokered peace talks with Shigeru Miyamoto over his statements about Donkey Kong Country. Shit like that. And
right. She of course being Secretary Clinton. If you're not on the up and up.
I was trying to keep that kind of under the radar, Chad. She could have referred to anybody. Jill Stein? I mean,
right. Of course, it could have been a Stein endorsement.
So I was pretty proud of it. I mean, might have been not been the most ball-busting humor I've ever written, but it's definitely it was cute.
Yeah. And you know what I love though about this explanation is, as with any form of satire, it gets funnier the more you explain it.
I didn't think it needed explanation, but considering half the forum freaked out, that was one thing. But okay, so
anyway, you posted this article.
Well, what happened was I wanted it to go live around noon on Sunday, noon Eastern time. So I finished it around 3 a.m. This was the night of daylight savings time ending. So I think it was around 3 a.m. I had the extra hour. I had it pretty polished off where I was happy with it. So I uploaded it to the server just to make sure. You
ate a big spoonful of riboflavin and you traveled through time.
There you go. Yeah. Always, yeah. People tune in for our political insights and our Pete and Pete references.
They are decidedly pipe.
So because you got to make sure all the images are working correctly, that you formatted everything right, because it's never 100% until you check it out. Everything looked good. I was happy, but I wasn't going to provide a link to it until around noon.
Yeah.
So I went to bed thinking, okay, this is going to be funny. People are going to dig this. I was proud of myself. I woke up around 10 a.m. and noticed that DK Vine wasn't really loading right. Sometimes it would load, but other times you would just get error messages or a white screen that said blah, which is that's an Chad McCanna.
That's an error message that I wrote like years ago when I was trying to debug something.
Yeah, you can just tell when you're how enthused you are over over a task, and clearly you were feeling at the top of your game that day. But,
right. So let me take it from here. All right. I noticed the same thing that morning, and since you hadn't posted your article yet, I didn't connect those dots.
It was up on the server. It was up on the server, but there was no news article on the main site linking to it, and I hadn't made it public on social media.
So my immediate thought was, we're using pretty old forum software, Envision PowerBoard, but from like 10 years ago. So my immediate thought was that perhaps our hosting provider upgraded their PHP or MySQL versions, and something in our ancient forum software was incompatible. Like maybe PHP deprecated a function call or something, which they do on occasion. We recently had to update all of the DB calls across the site recently for that exact reason.
Yeah, I'm not as technically minded as you, so I thought it actually might be something on our host end, where because daylight savings time ended, they had a mini Y2K type scenario.
Yeah, right.
That was a theory I had. And I was like, well, they're out of the office today, but I'm sure they'll get it sorted out on Monday.
Right. So I around Sunday evening, I was just expecting, maybe this will go away. Maybe it's a hiccup. Perhaps we're in a maintenance window with the hosting provider. It didn't go away. So during the evening, I called them and spent about an hour on the phone with their technical support, kind of walking through my theory. We are on a shared hosting account, so I thought maybe there was another account on the same server that's dragging us down. That wasn't the case. Eventually, the guy came back and told me that our forum index file, basically the file that everyone hits, index.php, there was a problem with it, and it was like formatted incorrectly. He really wouldn't give me much. I basically said, give me the error message that you're getting, and I'll go with that. Because obviously blah is not very helpful. So I was looking at that, and even that error message wasn't very helpful because all it said was the script was failing. It didn't say like what line the failure was occurring on, which if it's like a code error, the error log will always tell you the line, so you can zero in on it and do some investigation. So it was frustrating. But the site was up and down, which wouldn't be the case if there was a problem with the code. Right. That was the weirdest part. And then finally Monday, still using the forum because you just hit refresh enough and eventually you get it, because that's how addicted we are to this community. Someone in the elections thread of all places, no, I forget, maybe Angry Ancestor, I forget who it was, but they noticed that there were like 700 guests on the forum at that moment. So I thought, that's interesting. And I went into the admin control panel and looked at like the last 25 user actions on the site, and they were all logging in actions for anonymous users. And that's interesting too. Thankfully, we had an IP log for all of them. And so I started pasting those IPs into a geolocating service and realized that they're coming from Kiev, Ukraine.
So this all started, as far as we can tell, about an hour after my feature went up on the server.
Yeah.
So
the working theory, and there's really no way to confirm this, the working theory is that as soon as you uploaded your article, that, we do have tags in our site template that tell Google, hey, this is a page, come, they have these spider programs that basically crawl over web pages that have a specific tag in them, and that allows Google to return you as a search result. So the theory is that as soon as you uploaded it and Google sent their next crawler out there, there was some Russian or Ukrainian script that was basically looking at Google results for anything pro-Hillary or that had the appearance of being pro-Hillary.
But by the way, it should be pointed out that the officials in the U.S. government warned about this over the weekend. That
they did, actually.
This stuff might happen in the run-up to the election.
Yeah. So the theory is that we got slurped up into an anti-Hillary Russian algorithm that basically started doing a DDoS against our site. And if you don't know what that is, it's distributed denial of service. The notion being that to bring down a website, which happens to our site during E3 sometimes, you just overload it with traffic until the server literally can't handle it and it brings everything down. So with a DDoS, you basically have a bunch of automated processes that are hitting the server. Like a single person could run thousands of processes to bring down a site. And they can cycle through IPs on the fly, so there's the appearance from the server side that it's multiple people, and it doesn't immediately shut it down itself. But the fact that they were all coming out of Kiev is suspicious.
Especially since we know there are paid, essentially, operatives or trolls or whatever you want to use the term, that were hired to do this. So,
yeah. So essentially, I mean, we can't prove that this is the reason why, but given the fact that the U.S. government warned against it and it happened with the timing immediately after Hyle posted this, what would appear to be a pro-Hillary article.
Right. I mean, to Google, that was the conceit of the article, but unfortunately, Russian algorithms can't read satire.
Yeah.
So humor does not translate when you bring it to the East.
Well, nor does it translate to the elections thread, but that's another matter entirely. Yeah. So basically, what we wound up doing is identify. I got basically 100 of those IPs after trying a few things that didn't work. I just started collecting those IPs. I identified about a dozen patterns where I could wildcard the last segment of the IP. So it'd be like 192.168.1. Like a little asterisk. And so that would block all the IPs under that range. And IPs are generally geographically established. So I could be reasonably sure that I wasn't going to block anyone from the UK or America or Germany, anywhere, the Philippines, as our Facebook fans would. Basically anywhere that real users might be coming from. If you are hearing this podcast and you are from Kiev and you were recently blocked, please reach out to us. We can unban your specific IP.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would be the case given the ranges that I was dealing with. Establish those rules, and immediately the traffic went back down. And while we're not as fast as we were before this, we're back up.
Yeah, everything is functional on the site. There was a couple days where things were spotty, like the gallery wasn't working or whatever. Everything is functional. It's just laggy and slow. But
and what I think might have happened on that front is that because we are a shared hosting account with our hosting provider, they probably have protection. I suspected someone else on our server was having the problem. They probably have protections in place so that if you are the problem, they ratchet down your bandwidth. So I assume that after a certain period of time, that'll go back up.
Yeah, so sorry, everyone. My bad. But we brushing ourselves off. We can't keep a good, rare, and Donkey Kong themed website down for too long, and it made me feel oddly patriotic, I have to admit.
Yeah, the new Cold War starts at DK Vine.
It's just one of those classic DK Vine moments that we'll never forget, when Putin stuck his thumb in our eye and we did not yield.
We saw Vladimir Putin's Autobots and we said no more. So it's going to be a callsack episode. We're catching up on a lot of listener call history since July. Yeah. So if you had a call that kind of fell through the cracks, was more generally themed and didn't adhere to the subject matter in any specific episode, you may hear yourself on this one.
It's really going to be unfortunate when we hear Tim Kane's calls from August. He was so enthuthastic.
Oh yeah. Tim Kane today he's still just depressed because his Sea of Thieves contest entry wasn't a winning one. All right, shall we start?
Please.
Hey Hyle, hey Chad, it's me, your longtime buddy and collaborator, Doom Kong. I know you'd expressed some regret over calling your fan in the Donkey Kong universe, given that it's not strictly speaking a shared world per se, simply a chain of character connections spinning off from Donkey Kong Country. Now, I know this has caused some community debate and concern from those who believe the arcade games, which, as you'll readily admit, you're simply not that passionate about, should be embraced as part of that story, a proper part of the Donkey Kong universe. I also know your own rules, as laid down by yourselves, would complicate this, forcing you to follow Mario outward, making games such as Mario Teaches Typing a very valid entry in the series, while keeping, say, Jet Force Gemini and Saberman off limits. So you're in a very strange position here, one where you see Donkey Kong Country as the beginning of your universe, while still acknowledging that there is real and tangible history that came before it. This makes Rare's Donkey Kong Country, for all intents and purposes, scientifically speaking, the Big Bang, the central point from which matter and time spread both forwards and backwards in time.
Ooh.
What if, humor me here, what if, before Donkey Kong Country, the rules worked in reverse? Donkey Kong Country in 1994 spins off, or perhaps spins on, into Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Jr., then back into Donkey Kong Arcade, and so on. It nicely peters out and goes inward, rather than branching out, where you begin from the arcade at the start. Not only would this allow you to cover events that happened in this shared world before Donkey Kong Country, it would also allow you to appease the arcade fans while remain staunchly, passively, aggressively DKC focused. It is quite literally the center of your universe. Is this an idea you would entertain? Food for thought. Thanks. Love you. Namechi out.
Well, thank you, Dumechi. That's an interesting notion, and I'm honestly shocked that. Sorry for the sirens in the background, Brooklyn. I'm shocked that we've never even considered something like that until now.
I have issues with it. As lovely as the idea is, there are issues with it, and partly it's how many versions of those arcade games exist. ColecoVision versions. There's
why is that an issue though? Because we have that same problem with the SNES games, and we decide that they can kind of recontextualize or flesh out the events, but there's.
I understand, but at the same time, it would just add too many complexities in my view.
I don't know that it would, though. If we adhere to the same rigid dogma, but chronologically in reverse, I don't know. Maybe it would just be an interesting thought experiment, but I'd like to see what the DKU would look like in that world.
Well, as a thought experiment, I would be open to playing with it. It's something that would not be strict canon, authorized by the Pope. But, I think it's already confusing enough when we explain what we do, to add physics and the Big Bang Theory. And
let me be clear, Hyle. There is nothing about Alistair's theory that actually evokes physics or what the Big Bang was like. Because before that event, 13 point whatever billion years ago, there was no discernible time to speak of. So it's not like all of a sudden you can go back in time too.
Well, there is the looped time theory, right? That the universe ends and just restarts, and if you went back before the Big Bang,
there's a notion that there are like these brains, BRANE, that sort of collide, and at the places that they do, those spawn bubble universe. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theory, but it's the science version of Hokum Pokum at this point.
I think the reason we mostly regret using or becoming married to the term Donkey Kong universe, and I do change it up now. I call it the rare shared universe, almost as frequently as at least on the Facebook page. But I know we'll never be completely retiring the Donkey Kong universe terminology just because it's too entrenched. But we're a rare fan site, and that extends outwards to Playtonic and the spiritual successors of the Donkey Kong games that Rare got the ball rolling on. So I think it would be straying too far from the spirit of the site to go with Alistair's theory. But as an interesting thought experiment, sure, I would be up for playing with it. Just the catalog, what that would look like then,
Yeah, because, I sort of, the way that I visualize the Donkey Kong universe is kind of just like a branching tree. And to see that, and, there's this interesting image that I saw in, I don't know, it was like some nature book or, I don't know, something that was documenting natural things, and it showed a tree, but it was a complete cross section of above and below the soil, and it really does look like a mirror image for fibrous root system trees that don't just have that one big taproot. And that version of the Donkey Kong universe might be interesting, where Donkey Kong Country is topsoil,
I mean, I think we've mostly settled this by having honorable mentions on our page.
Sure.
And including the arcade games. And we do accept the arcade games as canonical backstory to what we do. We don't dismiss them or say they're not valid in any way. It's just for what we are fans of, they don't really apply. And I understand it's confusing, and we kind of made our bed 17 years ago. But I think
that's the thing. I'm not. It's been 17 years. Are you saying that is rigid DK Vine dogmatic structure at this point? Or
I stay beholden to what the founders intended, Chad.
Okay, fair enough. The founders clearly foretold a world in which we would have to deal with such thorny political issues as the existence of Playtonic.
Tricky Train, yeah. Or Tracky Train, whatever the fuck that's called.
Yeah. Definitely a DKU title. Thank you for the call, Alistair Doomkong Mamechi.
Yeah, I love you, Alistair. You're one of the few people who could lob bombs at my life's work, and I don't mind one bit because you're just so sweet.
All right, let's take another call.
All right.
Hello, this is Brick. I was going to ask this on dkvine.com/interactive/forums, or however that went. But I didn't know how to navigate the site, and I didn't know where to post this, or if it would even be appropriate, or honestly, that place kind of scares me. Anyway, I was going to ask, and don't laugh, I mean, I know you guys have, like, this fervent hate towards any form of competition.
What?
But would DK Vine sponsor me as a sponsored player of Smash Brothers? Now, I know you guys hate that game, but I don't. And, like, let me explain to you what I mean by sponsorship. Basically, you don't have to do anything. I'm just going to put your name in front of my name. So, like, it would be DK Vine's Brick. And that's basically all I'm asking for. Yeah, as far as how good I am at the game, I'm not that great. In fact, I'm a little bad. But, you know, you guys are all about self-depreciation or self-deprecating. Or, you guys have a self-deprecating sense of humor, so maybe it could be right up your alley, you know, sponsoring a player who hasn't really ever done well. But yeah, well, basically when I say sponsorship, like, all I want is to put your name in front of my name. And that's it. Unfortunately, that's also what a lot of sponsor players end up getting out of their sponsorships, which is actually pretty unfortunate. But that would be part of the joke, you see? So maybe? Goodbye.
Well, thank you, Brick.
Thank you, Brick. And, well, it couldn't be DK Vine's Brick. I think the correct terminology, as perfected by Matt Corna several years back, is Brick from off of DK Vine.
Oh, I was hoping we could just, instead of our name, request something out of left field, like he could play as Ben Folds Brick.
Brick from Loverboy. Yeah. I don't know why I went to Loverboy. Probably because I'm working for the weekend. Let's be honest. But
yeah, and I'm just cherishing a world in which abortion is legal.
70 more days.
Yep.
So, well, Brick, what do you think, Chad? Should we honor Brick's request? He's terrible at the game.
The problem with this, Brick, I would love to, honestly, sure, depending on how much it would cost to label yourself DK Vine's Brick, whatever. We'll throw some ducats your way. The thing is, this call came in, in like August? Is this still relevant?
I'm sure there's always Smash competitions. I mean, it's a perennial evergreen, right?
It might be more evergreen than this call was. Brick, hit us up on either Twitter or Facebook or the forum if you can plow through your anxiety and confusion and get there. And let us know if this is still a thing that you'd like us to do. We're certainly open to it.
I'm sorry that your call was just another brick in the wall.
Here we go.
Hey guys, this is ILDC. You think Playtonic will end up like Telltale, going from fun, friendly torch bearers to a corporate pile of sell-out shit that is unrecognizable?
Oh, wow, that was the call. That was the whole thing.
Oh, did he hang himself?
Possibly. No.
ILDC wants to know, will Playtonic retain that impish spirit, or will they become corporate sellout shells of themselves?
Nice summary, Hyle.
Yes. Well, you seemed confused, and I wanted to translate it for you.
Thanks. By substituting like 10% of his words.
Yeah. Well, I also added more words, so therefore it's better.
Yeah. So it wasn't so much of a summary as an elongation.
I disagree with the notion that brevity is the soul of wit. I think take as long as you want.
Yes. That wasn't a Cliff's Notes. That was a Norm's Notes.
I doubt it, Brick, so long as they remain relatively independent and do what they want to do and don't have any financial burdens. I think Playtonic will remain Playtonic.
Also, I like Telltale. I don't know why we're kicking sand in their eyes. They make, I mean, The Wolf Among Us is fun. I mean, Walking Dead was good until it just became torture porn the game, like the show has become torture porn the show. I don't know. I still enjoy their shit. Maybe the sort of quick time moment, narratively driven, old school RPG kind of thing isn't his bag, but A, yeah, let's not throw shade at Telltale unless there's something I don't know about their shady business practices, and B, who the fuck knows what Playtonic's going to do? They seem like they're doing fine now.
Yeah, right. Well, they don't even have their first game out, so let's we can't read the tea leaves that far in advance, but knowing those guys, we followed their careers, but knowing their track record, I think they're going to remain the fan-pleasing studio they strive to be.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, Jen. I was just calling again. It's been a while since I last called, but I have another question about Donkey Kong. So there have been a couple of episodes where you guys have talked about time period known as Donkey Kong Country Mania, and I know firsthand what it's like to live in that era. So my question for you guys is, do you think it's possible that the Donkey Kong series can reach that level of hype or popularity that it had back in the Super Nintendo days? Just want to know what you guys think. Thank you for the show. Have a good day.
Thank you for the call. I believe that was Justin Riley.
Did we get a caller ID on that one?
We did, yes.
Okay.
So I see you, Justin. You can't hide from me. Thank you for the call. What do you think, Chad?
No. I'm not going to beat around the bush. No, I don't think we'll ever get to a mid-90s style Donkey Kong mania. I think that the audience in the gaming world is too fragmented and too cynical for that to work.
The industry itself has changed. You have to understand these big blockbuster games with the budget of a major Hollywood studio release didn't exist back in the mid-90s. So Donkey Kong Country captured the imagination. Nowadays, it seems kind of quaint. And unfortunately, quaint doesn't cause Beatlemania or Donkey Kong Country mania in this case. And I think the best we can hope for is something like Donkey Kong Country Returns, a game that comes out and sells millions of copies and gets very good reviews and encourages Nintendo to keep making more. But
sleeper hit.
Not even a sleeper hit. I mean, I think you'll have Donkey Kong games that could very well be the best-selling Nintendo game of that year. Tropical Freeze didn't have the same fate. Yes, there were mitigating circumstances, but all the same, it didn't. So...
Oh, is that what we're calling the Wii U now? A mitigating circumstance?
Hey, I'm trying to... Look, every time I call out the Wii U as of late, people give me shit. So I'm trying to be more diplomatic.
You can't argue with the sales figures. It's a fine piece of hardware, and its central device was underutilized by the very company that invented it. But it has some great games.
But that's par for the course for what Nintendo... Oh, that's Nintendo bias.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be like 1994 to 1995 to early 1996 levels again. That was for a brief window of time. It felt like Donkey Kong and by extension Diddy were the mascots of Nintendo. But as soon as the N64 came out, Mario was back in charge. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be like that. And Nintendo's kind of too much of a mainstay at this point. It's been part of people's whole lives. It was still kind of a novelty back in 94. They've been around for about a decade as a household name in the US. Mm-hmm. Obviously a lot longer than that before, but it's too entrenched now. What Nintendo is too entrenched. And unfortunately, Donkey Kong it's known. It's a known quantity, and it's definitely got more of a leg up than other Nintendo franchises that have fallen by the wayside, like your F-Zeros and whatnot. But yeah, you're never going to see that kind of magical time again. But we don't really need it either.
Well, I think that part of the reason why we might not see it again is because the internet wasn't really around in a massive way back then, and I worry what the internet has done, even to young people, is made it less and less okay to be openly enthusiastic about things. Because back in those days, if you really love something, you have to embody that until your friends tell you you're being stupid. But you at least have to put that foot forward and say, I love this thing, and then be shunned by your social circle. Nowadays, you can just go on social media or YouTube comments and see people shit all over everything, which makes you think twice about demonstrating that enthusiasm in public. And so you're less and less likely to see things like that propagate organically, to see fandoms propagate. And that's a very sad byproduct of the internet and social media. And I think the closest thing we would ever see to that kind of DKC mania is what's happened with Yooka-Laylee. But even that is swirling around controversy. Some of it Playtonic's making, but some of it just people being shitty. And we've gone through that, a lot on this podcast. But thankfully, I think we and everyone involved in the game have made peace with everything, and we're just genuinely looking forward to it. But that's as far as I think it would ever go, that over-the-top enthusiasm. But even if you take a step back, that's a drop in the bucket of the entire gaming sphere. Whereas DKC was a huge, like, people were aware of it, Anyone knew about that game. But
it was the game. Yeah.
Right. Your average Sony fan is not, they may be tangentially aware of what that Crash Bandicoot thing? Not everyone is going to know what it is. Everyone knew what Donkey Kong Country was.
But it's fine. I mean, even if Playtonic is playing to what's essentially a niche crowd, there's enough of that crowd to keep them financially strong. So
that's the upside of the audience fragmenting.
Yeah, so fragmented audience, and I agree about cynicism, but I also think because the industry has changed the way it is, what really catches fire, especially with the kids, it's not going to just be a singular game that you pick up, play, beat, and move on, or replay if you really like it. It's got to be something that engages every aspect of their life. Pokemon is a good example. Pokemon's still strong today, and something like Pokemon Go can come out and rekindle the whole fire. Minecraft, something you're fond of.
Yes.
I mean, the whole Toys to Life thing is kind of waning, but for several years there, you had Skylanders, and you had Disney Infinity briefly, and so it's got to be something more than just a game, because just being a video game isn't enough nowadays. It is if you're playing to the, as we disparagingly call them, the dude bro crowd, the mainstream crowd who buys every Call of Duty every year.
But even that audience, I think, has been somewhat marginalized. I think less and less the industry is catering only to those tastes.
No, it has broadened in the last couple of years, but that's just fragmentation then. So either you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So at the very least, we can hope for a small enough piece of the pie, but it's never going to be the whole piece again. And I'm okay with that, because there's a certain joy in, and this is kind of like the whole indie hipster thing of, well, you've probably never even heard of this band, but they're amazing. And it's kind of cool that we have this own secret club with our little private handshakes and whatnot. I mean, I kind of like that we go, pan to the beat of a different drum, and we celebrate the weird and the obscure, and we're a comedy site because Rare, was okay with comedy in their games, and
right.
I like being our own beast, and I don't really need the rest of the populace to get on board with it, because it's a special thing at this point.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the call, Justin. We got maybe a little too serious on that one, but
that was a good question. It was a good question.
Yeah.
I'm glad he asked it. All right.
Next caller.
Hey, Chad. Hey, Al. It's Banjo-Kazooie 2000. I'm just calling in for the call sack episode, whenever this thing is going to be. I recently got Donkey Kong Country 3 on SNES, and I've been playing it for a while. And just want to let you know that hopefully by the spotlight of this game that I will have beaten it at least at any percent and be able to share my thoughts about it with you guys. So I guess that's really all I came in to call about. I'm just kind of alone on a Friday, want to play some games, and I thought, maybe might as well call the DK Vine Hotline while I'm at it. So just promoting this beautiful game to the mass of 5 people that watch the Kongversation. So, thank you for taking this call, and call later. This is Banjo-Kazooie 2000, Banjo-Kazooie 2000, up, over, under, and out.
Thanks, Banjo-Kazooie 2000.
I appreciate that he was playing it loud.
Yeah, he certainly was. Yeah, enough so that our awful audio recording voicemail software actually picked it up. Hyle, is there going to be a spotlight series for Donkey Kong Country 3?
You know it, bro.
Okay.
Actually, what? We're 2 weeks out. It'll be starting in 2 weeks. Yeah, I think next week, if there's no major news, whatever the conversation, whatever form it takes, we'll have to discuss that aborted, failed Diddy Kong Racing pitch from back in 2004. I think that'll be a scintillating topic, but
assuming, of course, we don't have to split this episode in twain because we're only 5 calls into 18 calls.
Oh, I plan to blow through the last ones. I'm sure they're rubbish, but yeah. There'll be a Donkey Kong Country 3 spotlight. It'll be multiple parts. It'll be beautiful. You'll love it.
It'll be tremendous. Huge.
The best. Oh God, let's not.
So I will not be participating in that because I've already played through in real time, given my thoughts on Donkey Kong Country 3 last year on involuntary twitching. So I will probably be re-promoting those 6 hours worth of episodes or whatever it was. I did manage to get 105%. I did it with the toughest code. So check those out to see in real time thoughts on the game, and then tune into this series in 2 weeks to listen to your kind of revisitation of the game with, I assume, Nick.
We'll see. It might be a smorgasbord of personalities, but yeah, it's going to be more capturing the cultural moment of late 1996 before getting into the game itself. We like to set the stage a little bit and get
sometimes a little bit too much.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful stage, the best stage. Okay, let's not get into Trumpisms. All right,
good God.
Next call.
All right. Oh, where's the mouse?
Hey there, boys. It's Coda's Corner. You might know me from the YouTube comments. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. Just putting in my little call for the call sack episode. So, something I've been wondering for a long time. This might be a little bit of a controversial question, but I'm going to pose a scenario for you. So, let's say you're trapped on the middle of an island, and all you got to do is play video games. So, you can choose one of the following sets of video games. Every Rare game that does not feature Donkey Kong characters, or every Donkey Kong game that's not made by Rare. And that's pretty much all you got to entertain yourselves. What do you think? I'm eager to hear what you have to say. All right, see ya.
Oh my God, this is the easiest question we've ever gotten.
First of all, thank you for the call. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite decipher the name you gave. And in our Google translation of your call, it deciphered it as Curtis Corner. So I'm going to call you Curtis Corner. We have a habit of coining names for our listeners when their names are a bit muddied in the call. And so I will temporarily bestow this name upon you.
See, I thought it was Kodos Corner, and he was a really big fan of apocryphal Simpsons.
But they were made canon in that one episode.
I'm ignoring that. That's apocrypha to me.
But Chad, the Simpsons predicted President Trump.
Okay, can we not? Can we not?
Oh, fuck. All right. Thank you for the call, Kodos or Curtis. Well, yeah, this is a pretty easy one. As much as I am all in on Donkey Kong, as I would say, as much as I adore and cherish every aspect of it, or most aspects of it, and I love games like Tropical Freeze to death, it's not a contest. It would be the rare games that aren't Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I was gonna make like a facetious joke about how much I would love to play Donkey Konga 3 forever, but it's just so obvious. I mean, God, I'm a bigger fan of Jet Force Gemini than I am of almost everything in the Donkey Kong universe. It's not even close.
He didn't specify whether it was the whole Donkey Kong universe, so I don't know if the Banjo games are still on the table, but I assume not. I assume he meant anything we would cover on this site. So I assume he meant like the Jet Forces, the Golden Eyes, the cameos, the whatnots. But
stacked up against Mario Hoops 3 and 3, and there'd be a few regrettable losses like the Payon games, the pegging ones, but apart from that, God, it's not even close.
I love that you've given in on that terminology, the pegging games.
Yeah, of course. Why? What does that have some kind of perverse connotation?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, okay. All right.
I wouldn't want to think otherwise.
Well, all right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, you thought you were going to trip us up with a brain teaser, but we already had it answered.
I've been stroking my beard this entire time. All right.
Hi, Hyle, and whichever other guy it is this week.
It's me.
It's Rob Butler here, and I was just calling because of a question I had regarding last week's episode. I thought about making a forum post about this, but for some reason I can't get on right now. Maybe it's a problem on my end. I'm not sure.
Putin!
Anyway, I
was
thinking about Dread Kong, one of the 4 Kiss Kongs, how the other 3 are named after some kind of like Japanese martial art or fighting style or something like that. My theory is that Dread Kong used to have a name like that, maybe Samurai Kong, for example. But I think you can tell from his name that he probably renounced his violent ways in the past and converted to Rastafarianism. Either maybe he learned about that from Funky Kong, or maybe he actually traveled to Jamaica and learned about it. I don't know, either from the humans there or some of the local monkey population he was trying to conquer. I don't know. But I think, obviously he got called back to fight for the Ghastly King. So, well, maybe it didn't work out so well for him after all. But I don't know. What do you think? Maybe, is there any water to that theory or not? Anyway, have a good day, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Rob. Hyle, you're the resident expert on all of the Bongo games, so I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Oh, my mother is so proud.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. He was probably never. I don't know why one of them is not part of the Japanese or Asian martial arts, and the other 3 are. But I would like to see that game where Dread Kong travels to Jamaica, or even like have it be an Eat, Pray, Love type situation where he gets dumped. And he decides to travel the world to reconnect with his spirituality and find himself. How
Dread Kong got his groove back.
Yeah, he can meet Javier Bardem and they can have a fling. And I would be all for that game because why not? That would be the kind of piss take that would just delight me to no end that we would never see from Nintendo, unfortunately. And that was not me being biased against Nintendo, it would be, why would Nintendo ever make that game? Rare wouldn't make that game, but they would acknowledge it in weird side bits on their website, or Chris Alcock just messing with us. So but as far as yeah, sure, why not? He might have traveled the world and discovered Rastafarianism.
So interestingly, we live stream this for our $5 and up Patreon patrons. Yeah. One of them in the chat, Zakura no Sakura, who's a kind of a mainstay for these, has pointed out that in one of the, so he's Dread Kong in Japanese, but in one of the localizations, his name is actually Rasta Kong. So
it's intentional, at least.
It's intentional. It's not like, despite the fact he clearly has dreadlocks, you're not like dreading him. It's not that kind of dread. He's meant to be a Rastaman.
I've got deep anxiety in the pit of my stomach over that Dread Kong fellow. That's so weird, though. I mean, why? Like, is that racist? Is that racist, Chad? I can't.
Nah, I don't think so. Dreadlocks. I mean, it's.
But okay, calling him Rasta Kong is something entirely different.
Oh, that part of it. Yeah. I don't know.
Is that the European localization? Because
I'm not
they
sure.
sometimes go off. Because in Europe, a lot of the Jungle Beat characters did have different names. All of the animal buddies had different names. And then in the Wii new Play Control version, they changed all their names to the American and Japanese localizations. So I don't know why they went so off script.
I was about to say no, it wouldn't be racist because Rastafarianism is a religion, but then it would be tantamount to having a gorilla wearing a yarmulke and call him like Yentl Kong, or so it is kind of racist, I think.
A little distasteful at the very least,
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Yeah. So there you go. All
right, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Hello, DK Vine. This is Evan Lynn, Flash Panda Boy 78 or 89, whatever, musical shy guy, blah, 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 top editor for the wiki, blah, 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 everyone has to know that. Anyway, so one of the characters in Yooka-Laylee, if you haven't for some reason already heard, his name is Signpost, probably one of the second best character aside from the Duke. Anyway, Signpost, he was one of the first characters to be revealed in Yooka-Laylee ever. He was shown in the pre-alpha footage, or whatever it's called, and he was recently voted to be the character of the month of November. For the Facebook Yooka-Laylee group, he was somebody decided to elect this handsome young postman or nominate him to be one of the characters of the month, and he almost made it, but not quite enough for one of the months. Then every single month after that, he was constantly nominated to be the character of the month on the Yooka-Laylee Facebook group, and every single month he almost got it, but failed. But this month, he finally won, and now he is officially the Yooka-Laylee character of the month of November. Now he is sitting in his hot tub jacuzzi with in his $9 billion mansion, sitting with all the hot, the googly-eyed babes, and yeah, so there's rumors that he is developing a new video game. If he were to develop a new video game, Signpost, what kind of game would he develop? Again, if Signpost from Yooka-Laylee were to develop a video game, what kind of video game would he develop? Thank you. By the way, this is a very serious question. But
I'm really encouraged by the fact that the October winner is Trowels of the Snake is so invested in a peaceful transition of power to the Signpost. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, yeah. Well done to you, by the way, for Evan for spinning up this. Facebook group and wiki. That's really great to see another outlet that's really has some effort put behind it for Yooka-Laylee.
It also heartens me to see them embracing shit characters. Like we do. I mean, let's be honest. Siegfried the Golem. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's
look at our Hall of Fame, for fuck's sake.
It's part and parcel for what we do, and it's nice to see it's also existing in the shared Rare / Playtonic fan community. So if Signpost could develop a game, what game would that be? Signpost teaches typing? I don't know.
No, that sounds... I was going to say something along those lines, something that's extremely text-based. Yeah, so... Yeah, there you go. Signpost teaches typing. By the way,
Signpost explains the Electoral College.
When he gets to the bit about the popular vote, all bets are off. By the way, Zakuro Eno Sakura, who previously helped us out with Rastakong, is Gibbon. Frequent caller, frequent former. So sorry about that.
I assumed he wanted to keep his secret identity, even more secret. It's like Batman wearing a second mask.
No, but now he's hitting us with monkey emojis in the chat, so we have no choice but to out him.
I always send Michelle monkey emojis in text messages to show her how much I love her.
Is that right? She doesn't think you're just like calling her an uncivilized ape or something. She takes it for how it's intended.
She knows that's what I love.
Mm-mm. Fair enough. Yeah, you did spend your honeymoon amongst monkeys, so.
Too hot for TV. All right. Well, next.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Clay off of Rare and Friends calling. I had a quick question. The other day, I was playing through Donkey Kong Country, and I got through a couple levels that had a specific enemy, which is known as a mincer. And they're these, as you know, a spiky, circular, moving thing that you have to basically avoid. You can't really kill it. So anyway, my question is, what the heck is a mincer? Is it a living, breathing thing? Is it an object that isn't alive? What the heck is the deal, and where does that fit in with the lore and all that crap? So that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have my ideas,
Rare
but
and Friends, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice plug for Rare and Friends. Let's check out their logcast. Their most recent episode of their podcast was a weird Dadaist exercise in stream of consciousness. So give them a listen.
We wouldn't know anything about that, would we, Chad?
No, not one bit. What do you reckon, man? I've got some ideas, but I want to hear you spitball for a bit.
Here's my theory on mincers and how baddies in the Donkey Kong universe work.
So you're saying Mincer's a baddie?
It is a tool.
The column of spikes?
It is a tool utilized by the baddies, but I don't think itself is a living entity. I think having eyes of some sort, be it glowing red eyes in a lot of the case of the early Donkey Kong Country games, or just straight up googly eyes, designate whether something's living or not, or at least a robot. I think these are just mechanical devices that are set on a pattern. And
yeah.
They're just traps laid out by the Kremlings.
I wouldn't say that the eyes are the window to the soul necessarily, but at least moving of their own volition. And I don't see evidence here that these things are doing that.
It's the same thing. Early Donkey Kong games by Rare have a pattern of having. I mean, Donkey Kong Land had the Swirlwinds.
Yeah, Swirlwind. And then the stage name was Swirlwind Warning. Yes,
right. So, I mean, there is a habit of inanimate objects serving as pseudo baddies in those first couple Donkey Kong games. But
and by the way, the Retro Studios would very famously revive the Swirlwinds in Tropical Freeze.
I always thought the Swirlwinds were like stone pillars, because that early ACM clunkiness where everything kind of looked a little plasticky.
Yeah, it's just a solid cone inverted, and it sort of wobbles, and it's bouncy for some reason. That was always strange.
Yeah, kids, if you encounter a tornado in the wild, do not try to bounce off of it. It will not end well.
No. So yeah, I think that later on in some stages in Returns, but especially in Tropical Freeze, you got to see a lot more of the mechanisms that made a lot of these automated systems run, especially in the Juicy Jungle world from Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
And I think that those columns, the mincers, are just a product of the camera being a little too close for you to see everything else that's going on inside those temples.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think something that is sort of interesting is how Retro indicated that a surface is damaging by coloring it purple, which sort of says that all of those things are tipped with amethyst. And I think that perhaps that amethyst was excavated by the moles in those molehills in the cave section of the game. So perhaps there's something that harkens way back to the early, whatever early Kongs made those temples and decorated them with those gorilla paintings and statues and ultimately created the Golden Temple. Perhaps they derived some kind of magic power from those amethysts or were able to refine them somehow. So there's something there, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
It's funny. I believe of the clan also thinks the color purple is harmful.
Next caller! Oprah.
Hey guys, this is IODC.
Again.
Calling in for the call sack this election day.
Oh.
I have a bunch of questions rattling around in my brain, so let's hope I can get through them all. Okay, number one, here's something you didn't bring up last week. You notice how King Jingling, the Panther King, and King Kangaroo are all bigger than their subjects? Do you think that really means anything in universe? Number two, have you thought about doing a show or movie about the DKU fandom, whether it be a narrative film or a documentary? Because let's face it, you're not going to reach that Elvis and Slick Money milestone. And number three, how many unused calls do you have of Mamechi, Scraps, and Doom Kong?
This is Kennedy?
Looks like I got through all of them. Cheers, and shame on you for supporting Hillary.
Oh. It was strange for him to take a right turn there at the end after spending so much time sounding like Jackie Kennedy.
I know. I thought this was coming live from Chappaquiddick. See, we can give it both ways.
That's right.
Take that,
Come on.
Ted Kennedy.
Yeah. You like that, Teddy? You killed a lady with your car.
You've been dead 8 years.
Whatever. Thanks, ILDC. Let's take those one at a time. Do you remember them?
Yeah, why are the kings always bigger than their subjects?
Maybe it's a reality like on Invader Zim, where their power is derived from their size. Zim's got the almighty tallest. Maybe Jingling is the tallest to the Jinjos.
Or maybe size is always just relative in the game you're playing, because they do tend to fluctuate quite a bit.
Or maybe it's like ears and noses, where like they don't stop growing the older you get. Maybe just all those species never stop growing. So there's a correlation between your level of experience and your likelihood to become a leader and your size.
Well, we know the Panther King was somehow immortal, so,
Mm-hmm. Or at least hundreds of years old.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And, I maybe there is a survival of the fittest type element where the strongest do claim power for themselves, and strength is determined by size. Not the size of the hands, obviously, but anyway. So, second question: would we ever do? What was the second question? Was that the documentary?
Yeah, I think it was a documentary one, yeah.
It's an interesting idea that would require time, and time is a precious commodity. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I myself have considered, maybe one day doing a book about the subject, but I think that's down the road a bit. But I never say never.
As for doing some kind of fictionalized movie about this fandom, I could think of nothing more insufferable than our version of, what was that one, that Star Wars based one where they do a pilgrimage to Skywalker Ranch? Fanboys. I could think of nothing that I would rather watch less than the DKU Fanboys movie.
Yeah, and I think it would really bomb in the U.S., but it would do spectacularly in the Chinese market.
Well, yeah, we'll all be replaced by Chinese doppelgangers.
And we are anti...
It's just smart casting.
Our anti-witchcraft stance, I think it would play well over there.
Perhaps. What was question 3?
How many unused calls of the regulars do we have? And the answer to that is none, believe it or not.
Shockingly few.
We pretty much play every call we get. Sometimes we don't. If we'll quickly peruse them. Sometimes we just play them blind. But occasionally I have pulled a call or two because of how offensive they were. It's rare I do it, but for the most part, we do play everything we get.
All right. Well, thank you in Libding color.
Hello. In light of very recent events, I wanted to talk about the darkest timelines in the DKU. Like, for example, in DKC1, what if K. Rool had managed to steal all the bananas and kept them? And what about in DKC2, where Diddy and Dixie failed to rescue Donkey Kong? Or in DKC3, where Aspen managed to take over the world with chaos? What do you think those kind of scenarios would be like? How would they play out? And how do you think the Kongs would be able to overcome them? Okay, thank you.
From the Tomb of the Unknown Caller. Thank you.
Some upbeat subject matter to discuss.
Well, I think we already have the partial answer to that, because Rare was usually always kind enough to provide us a glimpse into that horrifying reality when you got a game over.
Yeah, we have this whole time we've had multiple "the hero has been defeated" timelines.
Right, it's never been followed up on, but yeah. I mean, granted, in the original Donkey Kong Country, we just saw Donkey and Diddy with bruises and very somber music. I assume they just lost the banana horde and went back and licked their wounds, and I don't really know where it would go from there, but we know in Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy and Dixie get captured and perhaps sent in a hot box in a work camp somewhere.
That's right. While they're being lorded over by the weird dominatrix Kira Nerys.
Country 3, Dixie, I guess, is grounded by Kitty's parents for endangering the life of their child.
In like the most evil playpen ever.
Meanwhile, Donkey and Diddy remain forever lost in the brain of chaos.
By the way, Hyle, on that game over screen, I'm sure you'll get to it when you're discussing the thing, but when I was streaming it earlier this year, for some reason in my memory, I remember you being able to press the face buttons on the controller to after the tune plays out with the building blocks and make them play different tunes, kind of like the ocarina.
I remember that too.
You remember that too? I couldn't activate it while I was streaming, so maybe that's something for you guys to look into. How do you do that? Because every time I'd hit a button, it would just take me back to the main menu.
I don't remember. I'm going to have to investigate that.
But you do remember that being a thing.
Absolutely, because I was just going to bring it up before you did.
Okay.
So, but Donkey Kong 64, obviously, Donkey Kong Island would go explodey and everybody would die. I mean, there's no end to the dark possibilities, and I think each failure would cancel out all the sequels that came after. Mm-hmm. So... yeah, I mean, just use your imagination. I think Rare provided the starting point, and you can get as dark and twisted as you want from there.
Awesome.
All right, yeah. Bleak futures. Woo!
Yeah, that's all we have to hang on to now.
Yeah. Next call.
Hey there, Chad and Hyle, and or whomever is also there. Malik calling in for this edition of the Call Sack.
All right.
So, I've been thinking about King K. Rool recently, and I know as well as anybody that he is overdue for a reappearance in a Donkey Kong game, or any video...
I just have to pause it. Malik, I fucking love the sincerity of... I've just been thinking about King K. Rool recently. That sentence fragment is everything that is great about this community. Anyway, as you were.
game, really. I'm not picky. But did you ever think that he's been doing something in his absence that will lead to something big down the road? Maybe he hasn't been sitting by the phone for Nintendo to call him up these last 8+ years. Maybe he's hidden himself away somewhere, gathering power. So my question is, if King K. Rool was up to something, what do you think it might be? You know, that's all I could really think of this week, and I hope I could lift thy spirits a bit. And, yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. See ya.
Thank you, Malik.
Thank you, Malik, the cartoon gamer.
Yeah, check him out on the YouTubes.
And he's done some great Did You Know gamings as well.
That's right. Yeah, he guested on what was it the Banjo one recently?
Banjo, and he did a Conquer one too.
Cool. Excellent work, Malik. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, I would hope he's busy. I mean, he might just be demoralized after failure, and he's just eating bonbons somewhere. But that's a possibility. But really, I mean, we won't know until he reemerges, will we? I like to think he's planning something really kick-ass, this lethal Bond villain-esque trap for the Kongs. But that's really up to Nintendo and whoever develops the next game that features K. Rool, God willing. And,
so Hyle, I have a question that for you that might inform what K. Rool's been up to,
sure,
or at least his emotional state the last few years.
Yeah.
You know how whenever you play a cameo game, the way that DK Vine reads it is that Donkey Kong is the protagonist.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't he be? He's the best.
Well, here's the question: there was a team of Kremlings in what was the baseball one that he was in? Mario Super Sluggers?
The last one, yeah.
Yeah, the last game that K. Rool really appeared outside of a Mii costume. Do you interpret that as the Kongs win no matter what? Or perhaps the Kongs and the Kremlings both won a series? I mean, how do you know, they were both representative of the series we love in that game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much up to the gamer.
No, you have to decide. You must decide.
Personal continuity, Chad. Personal continuity. It's a thing.
You was the worst thing that ever happened to the Donkey Kong universe.
Oh, I'm still proud of the concept of you. I
am too.
No, yeah. Look,
you are so beautiful. No, actually, you is so beautiful.
Even if K. Rool won some baseball games, it doesn't really change where he is now, is it? He might have gotten a little bit of an ego boost. I won a baseball game. I'm sure the Cubs felt pretty good about themselves too. We won a baseball game. Doesn't change anything, does it?
Well, they won 4 baseball games after having lost 3. So
well, never mind. That completely reverses the state of the world. I don't know. I think K. Rool is off in the jungle somewhere. I don't know. He might be building something. The last time he went into hiding and it came back after a couple years, he had a mechanical crocodile isle with a death laser on it. So I imagine he would have to one up that unless he's just really given up. So
I have to say how tragic it is that he did not reveal himself to have been Lord Frederick the whole time, because how cool would it have been if this whole time he was up in the north consolidating a new army to exact his revenge? That would have been so great.
Would have been great, yeah. And I mean, why would you have Lord Frederick be a big fat walrus who has K. Rool's personality if the costume wasn't going to come off eventually?
Much less one that you kept in silhouette the entire time.
Why would you have him in silhouette when he's just a walrus?
There was no reveal. All you did was shine a light on him, and there was nothing there.
He looked like he did in a silhouette.
Yeah. Oh well, he's okay. He's just a K. Rool XP when he could have been K. Rool.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right. Thanks for the call, Malik.
Aye.
Thanks for lifting our spirits.
Hello, Hyle, and also Chad. This is Karakon.
Hi.
So, I'm going to preface this with a little bit of a possible miscalculation on your part with the aging episode. So you automatically assumed Conker would be 21 because he's over, or a little bit older because over the drinking age and all. But you forgot where is in the UK where the drinking age is 18, which would put Conker at possibly the age of 18 or 19 in the events of Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think that actually works a lot better because it would kind of, make him be a teenager in Pocket Tales, and kind of his relationship with Barry would be like that of a teenage sweethearts thing, which is why it's such crap in Bad Fur Day. But anyway, that's just some thoughts on that. My real question here for you today is so we're all big into our social medias and stuff like that, correct? We all like our Twitters and our Instagrams and our Tumblrs. What would some DKU social media accounts be like? Like not like you guys, but I mean like actual characters. Like would Grunty have like an Instagram where she takes pictures of gross stains? Would Funky have like a Tumblr where he posts a bunch of like aesthetically pleasing vaporwave images? These are things to think about. Well, I was wondering your thoughts. All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Karakong.
Thank you, Kara. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Conker being 18 in Bad Fur Day. I think we just went with 21 because that's what it was presented to us in the marketing campaign.
That's right.
And maybe that was pretty much Americanized, I'm sure. I don't know what Rare's intent was, and I don't know if Chris Seaver has ever been asked this.
I would be surprised if that was Seaver's intent. That it was his 21st birthday, because that's nowhere in the game, and it's just a night on the town, and there's just a war going on somewhere.
Right.
Like, it's just your average night that goes awry. That's kind of the underpinnings of the premise is that it's normal until it's not.
Well, and in the aging episode I did with Nick, I did specify that I don't think the game is Conker's birthday, despite what the marketing campaign says. But despite that, I went with the notion he was 21 in the game. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with him being 18. I think, whatever works. I'm not really married to anything there, but
yeah.
So long as he is of the legal drinking age, because he was at a bar and they were serving him. So
you don't think that the bartender, the big burly dude, would look the other way if he's at least getting a couple bucks?
You mean Sam the bartender?
Sam, I forgot. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. It's possible, and it's also possible. Who knows what the legal drinking age is in Willow Woods? It might be 16. I mean, pretty much. As we got into the politics episode, the politics of Willow Woods is pretty confusing, considering nobody knows if their king still exists or not. and the local government seemed to be run by the Acorns, what with your Wongs and your Guardians and so on. So
right, and your sheriffs, for that matter.
So it might even be fragmented, bifurcated, like it is with like weed laws in the U.S. In some areas, you can drink when you're this age. In other areas, you can drink when you're that age. So who knows? But as to her second point, and I've already forgotten it.
As have I. Thank you, Kara. Do you want me to replay it? Yeah, well, let's replay it.
Let's replay it.
All right.
Instagrams and our
Tumblrs. Social media.
That's the one.
That's the one. All right. Sometimes your brain needs a little charge. It needs
all we needed to hear was Stagram, and that's it.
That's a good question. I never even, believe it or not, I've never considered this ever. What would the characters be on social media? Would they have their own forms of social media that would keep them like huddled within the Rare archipelago, or would they be on your Facebooks, on your Twitters, on your Instagrams?
I think that it's more in line with the vibe of the games to, they use in Diddy Kong Racing, they use Squawks as a carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
I think that mechanism of broad communication is more in line with what the Kongs are. I don't know if that necessarily extends out to the entire Rare Archipelago, but I still like that idea. That it's a little more lo-fi.
They have computers. Cranky has a coconut computer in
Sure.
Donkey Kong 64.
Maybe he just uses it though to do research for potion making
Or to play Jetpack.
Yeah. He's already pirated Rare Replay.
I think, and this is stealing an old joke, I believe, from Joe Mudd, but instead of Grinder, I'm sure they have Vinder.
Mm-hmm.
They have. I think they would have their own versions because I think they might have an internet, but it might be. They might not venture out onto the broader internet. I eventually this is going to come up in one of the games. I would be shocked if it didn't. And
for a while, Janelle was doing those fake Tinder profiles under the Timber moniker for DKU characters. So yeah, you could see something like that potentially being. But those were just jokes based off of our social media.
Yeah,
within that world.
On the Facebook page, I do the Thursday post where the premise is it's a travel agency in the Rare Archipelago.
Yeah.
So I think it exists, but I think it would be beyond our conception of our social media. So there might be analogs to what we have, and I'm sure you're probably spot on. I'm sure Gruntilda would post foul things. I'm sure Cranky would just bitch on their equivalent of MySpace or whatever he would get around to finally using. No, old people are on Facebook too, so he would be like that parent you have on Facebook that you then feel awkward after you friend them and you can't make off-color jokes.
Yeah, no, that's what the unfollow button is for. We've all become very well acquainted with it in the last few days.
See, this is why I don't read my Facebook feed. I just stay on my own page and I post my thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Kara. Really appreciate the call.
Hello, everyone. It is me again, Nomech.
Hey!
Something happened on Tuesday. I forgot what it was. That guy. What's his name? What's his name again? What's his name? Capital B, right? He became president or something. It's kind of crazy and all, but with that said, onto my question. My question is, this is a big one. Is Kirby Planet Robobot DKU? Now, I know you might be thinking, why would that game be DKU? Well,
you're right.
You can use Amiibo in the game, and if you choose Donkey Kong, it would of course say Kirby swallowed Donkey Kong, okay? And he gets a power that's related to Donkey Kong. I think it was Fighter or something. So, if Donkey Kong is in this game, which he is, of course, like I just told you, wouldn't this game be a cameo game? Like, it makes sense, and it'll be pretty funny. Yes. I also have another question relating to a cameo game, and this would be Rhythm Heaven Fever and the Goldfish. So, in Rhythm Heaven Fever, there's a goldfish.
No.
For the Wii, I should mention. There's a goldfish that taps on a hook 3 times. And when he taps the 3rd time, it's when you have to catch it.
No.
And I like to think this goldfish is Royston
we know you
before he was captured and when he lived in the sea. And obviously, this is Royston's life before anything happened. So it's like Rhythm Heaven is a prequel to Banjo-Kazooie and the entire DKU in a sense. It's sort of like Star Fox Adventures with Tricky and all. You know what I mean?
Well, he knows our hearts.
What I mean. With that said, how do you feel about Royston first appearing in Rhythm Heaven Fever in terms of like continuity-wise as a goldfish that just does something? And of course, I hope I could chill for a second, but I should let you guys know that my first episode of my podcast, the worst game I ever played, is going to be out. It'll be me and Mitch talking about Paper Mario Color Splash.
Whoa.
I think you guys would enjoy it. Or you might not. You might actually hate it. In fact, you probably would. But with that said, goodbye, everyone, and just remember, hail President, capital B.
We hail our presidents. Oh, I guess hail to the chief. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hail capital B. No, decidedly no on the Royston thing.
No, if there's no Ed Bryan connection or Rare connection, considering they actually own a character,
right?
I think it's pretty dodgy. As far as your first point,
Kirby,
we've discussed this on the show before, Chad, and I think we just decided to kick the can down the road.
Yeah, this was the slippery slope that we were concerned about when we first heard of amiibo functionality.
Yeah.
And so I would need to actually see this transition happen in the game to really rule on it.
Well, luckily, I have a feeling Wii U games are going to be discounted quite a bit pretty soon, so it'll be easy to pick up. You know, I did make a bet, an off-air bet with Memechi that perhaps now I regret it. Back in the spring, I think, Memechi was concerned about who was going to become president or not, and I said if this certain individual became president, I would even let him be a guest host on the Kongversation.
Was it Lion Ted Cruz?
No.
Oh.
The fact of the matter is I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to have to make do now. So
because it was little Marco Rubio, yeah?
Little Marco, man. Him in the water bottle. He's a thirsty individual gobbling down that water.
Well, surely Memechi thought that it was going to be low energy Jeb Bush.
Can we move on?
Sorry.
So Memechi's going to have to be on the show probably sometime early season 5. And Memechi, this can be something we can discuss then.
Can I be on that episode too?
Yeah.
All right.
I think Memechi would love that. So,
wow.
Yeah. So Memechi, there you go. You're going to get both me and Chad. You're going to get just every wish you can imagine come true on that.
By the way, thankfully, again, because of the chat that we have going on during these live streams, David Lynch, forum moderator and site staffer for some time, has posted a link to the official description of what happens when Kirby inhales Donkey Kong. It says, inhale an amiibo, not the character.
Really?
So even if there's a depiction of the Donkey Kong amiibo going into Kirby's gullet, and then he turns into a version of him a la Smash Brothers, it's an amiibo, it's not Donkey Kong.
So if that's accurate, then you're right. You're right, Chad. Sorry, Memech. Sorry,
yep.
Memechi.
David ruined your dreams, Memechi. Yeah. When will we stop letting David run wild with his agenda? Thanks, David, for contextualizing, and thanks for the call, Metch.
Thank you.
By the way, I feel like Mitchell is spreading himself too thin with the podcast.
I was going to bring this up. How many fucking podcasts does this guy have?
He's a great entertainer, so I don't mind it, but Mitchell, I worry for your health.
I can only handle this one show because I feel like if I did more than one, I would forget which one I'm doing.
Yeah,
I can only handle so many topics.
Well, we might as well, since he's been brought up, plug the 64464 podcast, which is Mitchell, Kev Rose from Rare and Friends, and our own Matt Corna discussing 64 Nintendo 64 games, one per episode.
How incestuous is this community?
It's just once the podcast ball started rolling, everyone got collected up into it. It's like our own audio Katamari Damacy.
I mean, I know incest videos are big right now, but I had no idea it was
a
podcast. Do a Google search on it. It's actually the number one, like, never mind.
Is it the kind of, if I were to go to Pornhub and search for their top videos, incest would probably be among the results?
There's been like think pieces written by scholars.
Really?
Trying to figure out why this is a trend in young people's erotic taste.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. That, like, millennials love incest, apparently.
I guess it doesn't bode well for the next generation. But
and I had so much hope instilled in all right, in where they would take the country.
Considering they didn't turn out the vote. Okay, what? All right.
What? Huh? Sorry, call 15?
Greetings, Kongversation. My name is Evan White. I'm a first-time caller today, but a long-time Kongversation listener.
Oh.
My question for you today, as we are approaching the holiday season, what is your favorite DK Universe holiday-related memory? For me, honestly, I actually don't have one. But I'm hoping to form some Donkey Kong Universe-themed Christmas memories.
Oh, that holiday.
Let's see. Okay.
He hung up. All right, that's 2 first-time long times. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you, Evan White. So does he mean like in-game Christmassy stuff, or does he mean like during the holidays, fond memories we have of the Donkey Kong universe?
I think we can interpret it however we want. And until he clarified that he meant Christmas, I was going to say Grab by the Ghoulies is my biggest holiday memory on Halloween in the Donkey Kong universe, because that game is Halloween to me. But
I think it was when Candle Banjo from Grunny's Revenge lasted 8 nights.
Speaking of Yentl Kong,
no, I think one memory that I come back to every year is in holiday, Christmas time, whatever, 1995. I decorated for Christmas by making a major scene, and I had Donkey Kong Country as the Virgin Mary, Donkey Kong Country 2 as Joseph, and Donkey Kong Land as Baby Jesus. And that's stuck with me.
Did you really do that?
I did.
Oh man, you need to reproduce that this year and do another round of hemorrhaging followers.
I've been thinking, what's my advent calendar? Because I do a virtual advent calendar on Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my answer.
Right. Speaking of advent calendars, I'll go in universe for my answer, and it's got to be Freeze Easy Peak. I mean, there's nothing in Freeze Easy Peak apart from the tree and the presents that scream Christmas. It's just more winter.
And the advent calendar.
And the Advent calendar. Okay, so I guess it is thoroughly Christmas themed. Yeah, much more so than the winter part of Click Clock Wood. So yeah, I mean that's that, and I guess since Banjo came out in the summer, maybe it's not associated with Christmas for me.
I think about it a little bit, but for me that's a summer game. So
I would say maybe the Mary cheat in DKC 3. Because once I found out about that, it was probably around Christmas time. Because of course you don't know all the cheats when the games come out. I think
Nintendo Power released that cheat like a month after the game came out for Christmas time. So
yeah, that might be it for me.
Yeah, for me, it's just because the games usually come out in November or around that time of year. It's just playing Diddy Kong Racing during that time of year. Diddy Kong Racing, Everfrost Peak, Snowflake Mountain, that world, second world.
Walrus Cove.
Yeah, Walrus Cove. Yeah, that is a prime holiday memory. But
yep.
All right,
cool.
Because it's winter.
It's Kevin Folgers. Yeah, you get the point. Hi, everyone. It's Kevin Folgers, also known as Croconaut on the forums, and I'm here for the call-in conversation. I've been thinking to myself just how not likely we are to see a new Donkey Kong game come the new year on the January 12th allegedly games reveal of the NX. Because with the systems coming out in March, they better damn tell us what the games are going to be. Or maybe just 2017 as a whole. Now, there's a lot of skepticism that there will be a new Donkey Kong game at launch. But
there's still a lot going for it, I think, in terms of even retro, I think. Now, I'm not going to ask you who Dave Throat was, the source who told you about the David Wise music rumor back at E3 2015. That would not be fair of me to ask of you guys. But do you think that this said person could potentially, or could be like a credible source to a new Donkey Kong game being in development if David Wise is working with Nintendo? And with all the other stuff like, the Kremlin campaign and DK Vine follows on Twitter, we're still very optimistic about a new Donkey Kong game by Retro Studios, even if it doesn't seem very likely. So I just, it's been talked about before, but I just want to know what you guys' thoughts are on about all this. And, it's good to call in the conversation once again. This has been a Soldiers 2 production. Here we go.
Amazing. Wow. We should have just played that call as our episode this week.
It worked. Thank you for the call, Kevin. Somebody else we coined with the name. He's calling himself Kevin Folgers openly now, so why not? I do want to point out our Google translation. I had no idea what this call was because he started off singing the Kongversation theme. So this is how Google translated it. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
222 Judith to do it Kathy Chicka Kevin Folgers. To cut that you get the point.
So the theme itself was to Judith to do it's Kathy Chicka.
I'm so glad that has lyrics now.
Yeah, it's the a cappella version.
I can't wait till Straight No Chaser does a cover. Thank you for the call, Kevin. And to answer your question, I'll give it to Chad.
Oh, man, that would require me to remember what the question was.
Why are we bad at this?
We're 16 calls deep. Like, come on. What was it?
Will we get a Donkey Kong game at launch? He brought up
Dave Throat. Right. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Kevin. I'm just kind of tuning out at this point. It's nothing to do with your call.
We're Royston fans, and we have the memory of him.
It is, yeah, that's right. It's been a long, exhausting week.
It's been a long week.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So, yeah. Wait, what was it again?
Will we see a Donkey Kong game?
Oh, at launch and Dave Throat.
If they announce for the Switch, if they announce these games in January, like it's the scuttlebutt is, will we see a Donkey Kong game? I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, that half a caffeine pill I took at the top of the show is wearing off quickly.
You got to do what I do at E3 and take 2.
2 caffeine pills, not 2 halves. Yeah.
No, yeah.
No, I think I don't think we're going to see one at the inception of this thing. I think January is going to be very low on DKU news. I don't know if Retro would even be working on another one of these things, nor what Dave Wise would be working on, or even if it's with Retro.
Honestly, I would hope that they would just have Dave Wise doing a game. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Donkey Kong game. Why not utilize that talent? I mean, don't pigeonhole him. I mean, I don't know. We don't know anything more than the initial rumors. So, sorry, but I really doubt Retro's working on a Donkey Kong game. I would love to be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things lately. I would love to be wrong about this one. So
yeah, like Putin's interest in our site. You were wrong about that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm flattered. I'm Vladimir Putin, but I think it'll be, unfortunately, due to Nintendo's lack of confidence in the franchise after Tropical Freeze, and there were mitigating circumstances, namely the Wii U, but I think they're not going to invest in it for a while. That doesn't preclude it being on the Switch. I think we will get a new Donkey Kong game. I don't think this is the end of the road. And who knows? Kevin Callahan could still be a prophet for our times.
Fuck off. I'm so done with Kevin Callahan.
He's been on radio silence for a year and a half now. So
yeah, almost as if he doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, somebody's behind the words.
I think it was a Ukrainian bot that wrote that article.
Wow, it's really sophisticated.
Yeah, somehow it knew exactly what would get our attention.
Thank you for the call, Kevin Boulders/Folgers.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Todd Howard from off of Bethesda Game Studios, and I have a question relating to the Cameo games. So, in the past, sometimes they have like a buddy system, right? So Mario would always be with Luigi, Peach would always be with Daisy. They would have for some reason Yoshi and Birdo, which is kind of normal now, but before Birdo, did you guys ever realize like sometimes they partner up Yoshi and Donkey Kong for some reason? Like I think the biggest example is Mario Powered Tennis and a few other like spin-offs, they for some reason are partners. I guess because at that time they didn't really have Diddy along with DK, so he couldn't really have a partner.
Diddy was in Mario Power Tennis.
So my question about DK and Yoshi is, do you think that Yoshi gets embarrassed when he poos out eggs in front of Mario? I mean, sorry if this offends anyone, but I thought it was kind of funny, haha. And I would like to know if any of you have any pictures of Yoshi pooing on an egg while he looks nervous or embarrassed. I just want to see it for a few laughs, haha. Another thing I'm wondering is, what do you think the eggs smell like, haha? I'm just curious for laughs, haha. I would like to smell them.
All right, next caller.
Hey guys, ACD here calling in for your callsack episode. I think that's what it is. But anyways, I just wanted to talk to you, shoot the shit, ask a couple of questions, First thing is, did I ever talk to you guys about a theory I had about Retro's DKC games? I mean, I know they're like the Return series and stuff, but personally, I believe that the Retro series actually takes place before the original DKC games. I know it sounds weird, but I just feel like there's like stuff in that game that seems like it would take place beforehand. Like the Tiki tribe seemed like a very old like enemy and stuff. But anyways, I could probably expand on that later if you wanted me to, but more importantly, you guys doing the Donkey Kong Country 3 Spotlight episode this month?
Ooh.
Because I've been wondering about that. Oh, and the Pegging Games Spotlight, because I know one of those games turned 10 years old. I think it was King of Swing or Jungle Climber. But anyways, yeah, that's about it. Talk to you guys later. See ya.
Thank you, ACZ. King of Swing actually turned 10 last year, so we'll have to wait till the 20th for that one. At this point.
We can celebrate the 11th
or the 15th,
just like Pants Day over at Rare Gamer.
Hey, I got a lovely Mr. Pants doodle out of that deal, so
yeah,
I'm not gonna knock Pants Day.
We love you, Steve.
So yeah, I don't think the retro games take place before the Rare games, just because I think that would feel wrong. Really.
Is there anything in them that would force that could invalidate that theory? Obviously DK64 can't be a prequel, as you guys discussed previously, because Wrinkly Kong is a ghost. But is there... Or I think that you guys didn't discuss that, but you were called out on it on the forum. But is there anything in the retro games that would force that into being? Funky runs a flight play, but he did in the other ones. Funky is dressed like a mechanic.
Yeah, Funky is in his DKC3 garb, which granted, he could have just changed out of that and into surfer garb for the first two country games. But I think the biggest one would be Diddy's whole character arc, really. I mean, in Donkey Kong Country, he was a novice. He was just this wannabe who followed Donkey Kong around, and Donkey Kong kind of humored. In Returns, they're clearly best buddies. They've been through some history together. And I think...
Wait, you don't think that he behaves even more like a sidekick in Tropical Freeze and Returns?
Yeah, but that's basically down to game mechanics. I think as far as the way the characters are established and the way they're portrayed and presented, there's a deep bond between them. I mean, look at the...
You're reading into a lot
Look at the end cutscene from the end of Returns, where in one of them, Donkey catches Diddy as he falls, and they just kind of have that really adorable moment.
Okay, fair point. I forgot about that cutscene. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
And Cranky, I feel like it would kind of invalidate his entire character as portrayed in the Rare games if he had a shining moment of glory like Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, I do love that theory that I forget who the caller was, but I think it was during the Cranky character witness episode that said that the whole Cranky has been doping basically via his scientific obsession with potions throughout the course of the series, and eventually working himself up to recapturing his gaming glory in Tropical Freeze. So I love that headcanon, and if it were to be a prequel, then it would invalidate that.
Plus, there's the meta stuff. I mean, Cranky is complaining about 16-bit.
It was Gibbon, by the way.
Yeah. But Cranky was complaining about like the 16-bit. Well, it's actually 32-bit, but the Super Nintendo, era ACM graphics. He was complaining about that. Mm-hmm. And in the Returns and Tropical Freeze games, there's clear, explicit references to the Wii and the Wii U. So, I mean, it doesn't. That's kind of out of universe stuff encroaching on in universe, but I think that's enough to just nullify the whole point.
Well, hey, Wrinkly Kong owns a Nintendo 64, so
yeah,
that kind of stuff is valid.
I mean, she could have gone to a used game shop, but I don't think that was the point.
Yeah, or lost mangroves and gone rummaging.
Yeah, too bad Nintendo couldn't lost the whole shipment of Wii U's there. They would have saved themselves a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the call, ACZ, and that was our last call.
Yeah. Thank God.
Thank God. Oh, we needed this. We needed to get our mind off current events. I had fun. Did you have fun?
No, actually, I did. It was kind of cathartic, and it gave a nice little respite from the insanity that surrounds us. So thank you to all the callers, really, even the ones as far back as Alistair.
Yeah, and finally, I would like to have a special thank you to Vladimir Putin for taking interest in DK Vine. Thank you for your interest in DK Vine. It's much appreciated, and I can't wait to see what other wannabe tyrants we piss off next. I have a feeling I know who it is.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico. It's little Marco. That was him slurping the water.